Hi everybody, and welcome to this video about connecting with the ancestors. My name is Laura again, and I'm really happy to be here with you today and over the Samhain period, where I'm going to be recording several videos about ancestral connections. This will be on the run up to Samhain and the beginning of November as well. I'm really excited about doing this. As I journey through these ancestral videos, I learn more about my ancestral connection and my path, as well as the land around me, and I really hope you guys will too. So no matter where you are on your journey of connecting with the ancestors, hopefully something in these videos will be useful for you, that you can work with, you can use, and you can move forward with. So I'll just do a brief overview about what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks, so you can get excited as me about it. Cobweb's hoping that his dinner is included in this plan for the next 2 weeks. I think the clocks have just gone back here in the UK, so right now it is like 2:30 dinner time, but in reality it's 2:30 dinner time. Anyway, so here's a few things that I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks for the channel for connecting with the ancestors. So today is going to be 5 simple ways of connecting with your ancestors. We're going to start with down to earth, basic beginning techniques, foundation level stuff, so that we can build something strong and build a practice which isn't intimidating, which hopefully isn't too challenging, and that will be healing for our ancestral connections. So that's today's video. We're also going to be looking at some sacred sites where ancestors have been venerated. So we're going to go to some sacred sites and show you some awesome places. And there's going to be a video about the Desir, about the ancestral group of women that we can call upon. Also, we're going to have a meditation over this next week to connect with our ancestors. So that's a really fun and beautiful one, and it takes away the science part of it. Not that I talk about science, but you know what I mean. It takes away the logic of, okay, that's grandma, that's auntie, it goes into the ancestral group or the guides, which could be hundreds or even thousands of years ago when they existed, that are there to connect with you, to heal and to work with you and to give guidance. So why connect with the ancestors? I think that it's something that in our culture here in England, it's not really spoken about much. Like, it is in pagan circles and witchy circles, but it's not something that is really the normal. Other cultures have it more strongly, that it's still in their folklore or in their culture to connect with the ancestors, and I think that's so beautiful, simply because this ancestor veneration is thousands and thousands and thousands of years old and went on for thousands and thousands of years. So in a way, it's really strange that we don't now. And I'm sure our ancestors are going, I just want to say, oh, they're not listening. I wouldn't do that. Never mind, because unless we create that bond, that connection, I don't feel they can often, speak to us much if we don't make that effort to honour them and to connect with them. So it's really beautiful to begin to bond and connect with your ancestors. But I'm going to do the 5 ways in which we can start this journey. But before I go into those 5 ways, I just want to say, don't feel pushed to contact every ancestor you've ever had. If you don't like a certain person, if they were not good to you or your family, or that they feel not honourable, if the energy does not feel good, only go towards those ancestral spirits that feel aligned, that feel bright, that feel helpful. It's like you don't leave your front door open and let anyone in the world come in day and night. And that's the same thing when we connect with any spirit. We use discernment, we use our, we call in and we protect. Maybe if we do a circle of protection, we work with the energies of those that wish us our highest good, and we can call that in. So people have been asking me, but what if I don't like a family member, or what if there's been some trauma? I would say just don't have to at all connect with those ancestors. You are the product of thousands and millions and millions and millions of acts of love, and there's going to be many awesome, high energy, beautiful, caring, wise people on that line, and there may not be nearby. They may be further behind, or maybe yesterday. But you can call in and connect with the ancestors that are of the vibration and the energy that is working for you. So don't need to push into trauma. Please don't. Look after yourself, you know. Connect with the ancestors that have the good intent, that have the goodwill, and use your same kind of spiritual hygiene that we use in everything else that we do. Like, literally, everything magic we don't just kind of charge into all open and woo-woo. We go in there with some boundaries. We go in there with our clear will. We maybe clear the space, do our spiritual as well as physical hygiene, and use your guides, use your nows. But you can connect with the guides. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't, but there is many ancestors out there that will, I am sure, have oceans of wisdom to share, and maybe it could be reassuring for you to have that connection with them. I know it has been for me. Absolutely. And they're very wise and very savvy about who's good for your life, what's good, etc. In a really, not in a nagging way, but in a way that's actually really kick-ass and quite true. So the moon is looking stunning up there, can I just say. She is just rising like a beauty. So we're heading towards Samhain, as I've mentioned, with the full moon on Saturday. What an epic energy, and she's just looking so nice and beautiful out there. So yeah, firstly, don't push into uncomfort, don't push into places that feel icky energetically. There's so many different ways of approaching ancestor connection, and we're going to go through some of them today and some of them over the rest of the week. So only do what feels right for you and get the support where you need it. So that being said, let's look at all the different ways I'm going to mention today about connecting with our ancestors. Number 1, you can connect with your ancestors through remembering them, through telling stories about them. So this may take some research, this may take asking someone, this may take finding an old photo album, but remembering, what do you remember about the people that you've had in your life that have passed maybe? Their favourite food, that they used to like smoking a cigar, that red wine, chocolate and dancing was something that they was their favourite thing to do, that they liked to sew, that they were actors, that they actually lived quiet, humble, beautiful lives. Find out the stories, or remember the stories you've been told about those that passed before. You might need a bit of research. As long as you feel up to that, sounds great to me. And also that can help you, because it can help you contact members of your family that are still around, the ones that are here now, and cultivating relationships with them where it feels comfortable, where it feels right, only that, can also help kind of bridge that gap and help us connect with our family and the ancestral line. But again, only if it feels good. So things like finding out about your great-grandma, maybe finding a photo of them, remembering their names, speaking their names. Because, imagine the future when many years in the line, many years in the line, and we're not here, but the kids, the nephews and nieces, the cat kids are roaming the world. Just think if they didn't speak about you. It'd be a bit poo, wouldn't it? You've lived this life and you've gathered your wisdom and your hilarity. Like, there's a meme going around Facebook every once in a while about, what 3 things would people need to summon you when you've passed away? And it's something that kind of thing, like, what kind of 3 things do they put on your altar? What could they say about you? Is it like red hair dye, lipstick and a bottle of wine? That's probably, but these little things. And so therefore it is really nice for us to talk about those that have gone before, to say what they liked, what they didn't like, to find the stories, to tell the stories, to find some photos. I've got a little photo box here of a few, it's belonged to my nana, it might have belonged before my nana, I'm not quite sure, of just some photos, old photos, and a couple of trinkets. And that goes on the ancestral altar at this time of year. So look through some photos, maybe some stories, or maybe you can visit a site, if the incense is getting a bit excitable, you can visit maybe their grave or a place where they grew up. These are things you can do. So it can start from as simple as remembering their names and speaking to researching, visiting where they came from. You know, this can go as to creating a family tree, to speaking to the members of your family and finding out more. So, you know, again, I'm being super sensitive to whatever's going on with you, because we all have different stories and we all have different family experiences. And maybe you know everybody in your family and it's a really wise and warm connection, or maybe you don't and you feel a bit of the outside and you're not quite sure how to access this. But up to your comfort level, just look at back and see. Research the name, research the place. Do what feels right for you, but also be aware that if your immediate family don't feel great or comfortable for you, you can go back as far as you need to in your heart and your soul and call to the ancestors that want to help you. So yes, 1, speak about them. Remember them. Remember what they loved. Remember some funny things. And think about the future, what wisdom you'd like to pass down to others as well. What would you would love people to say about you? Number 2, connect with nature. So when, obviously, connecting with nature is good for everything. I think I'll say that for every video ever. What should I do? Connect with nature. My heart's broken. Connect with nature. But my answer to most things is to connect with nature, isn't it, Cobweb? Basically. But in this case, there's so many different reasons why connecting with the land is going to be helpful for your ancestral connection. In a most basic form, you know, we live, we die, and we go back to the earth in a bodily form. And our air, our breath goes out, our bodies go back to the land. So the land is connected with every ancestor, you know. There's such an, you know, there's such the earth is connected with the animals, with the trees, with the people that have been before. We're kind of at one with that in the earth. So that's a really good way, just having a walk where we just focus on connecting with those ancestors, kind of being open to them, to sort of speak to them. Maybe there's a particular family member you want to connect with, or a particular side of the family, or just something you want to call in, and you can do that through being out in nature, through being aware of the wholeness and the cycle of life. And seeing life and death in nature reminds us of the energy of our lives, of transforming, of shifting, of clearing, of not being stagnant. So actually going on an ancestor walk where we set our focus to connect with them and be aware of what we see when we're out. Like maybe we'll see some shed antlers, maybe we'll see some mushrooms, obviously like more going on under the surface than meets the eye. Maybe we'll see something specific in nature that reminds us of our ancestors. Then that can be a really lovely way of connecting with those who've gone before and getting guidance, advice and healing as well. The second part, it's like 2A and 2B of being out in nature, is that we can actually go to places that are connected to the ancestors, like burial mounds or graveyards, of course. There's a lot, I mean, if you are pagan and find graveyards a bit, you know, just go to the yew trees that are by the graveyards, because the churches were built on previous magical places, and the yew trees are where the ancestors would have buried their dead before the church was built. So if you go to a graveyard where there's an epic yew tree, or in fact any yew trees, you know that you're on ancient ground of ancestral connection. So that could help see in a more clear way, and that yews live for so long that they're almost immortal. You know, they live for thousands of years. They can do anyway. Actually being with the yew tree is an amazing way of connecting with the past, with the stories, and with the energy of rebirth. But of course, be careful that yew is poisonous, so do not eat the berries and kind of eat anything from the yew. But being with the yew and the energy of being with the yew is so powerful, it's so deep, and it allows us to see the passing of time and the lessons and the journeys we've been on, maybe accessing past life stuff, or accessing memories of the ancestors. So that can be a really part B, lovely way of connecting with those who've gone before, and we'll make some videos around that subject. So, number 3 of how to connect with the ancestors is to create an ancestral altar. Yes, that's what we like to do. We love a good altar. So, again, this can be as simple or as extravagant as you would like. You could have a photograph of some family members that have passed away, and you might want to like light a candle, burn incense. It's not quite as crazy as this, it's sort of joking. And leave out a plate of food sometimes. Like, you know, we were saying earlier about the meme about how to invoke you or to honour you when you pass. Like, if you know that your auntie loved a bit of gin, maybe put a little bit of glass of gin out for her. You know, etc., etc. They like the crossword. You could put a crossword. That could be, you know, whatever it was that you know your ancestors loved. You could put something of that on the altar, particularly at special times of the year, like their birthday or at Samhain, this time of ancestral connection. So an ancestral altar can be literally photo, a bit of a crystal, anything that reminds you of your ancestors. But for me, I also and really do like to see the ancestors as not just the personal, but the collective, and the wise ancestors that have the women and the men and all who have brought us here to this day and who are present in those burial mounds and in the stone circles and practiced our ways a long time ago. So my ancestral altar has, we'll go through it, we'll do a little video of that later in the week. It has statues of like women around the fire, of kind of that cycle of life, maybe half animal, half people statues or paintings. It has runes and bits of nature, stones. I think something like ammonite fossils are amazing to have on your ancestral altar because they are fossils. That means they are about 40 million years old. I love to geek about that. And the spiral formation on it helps us access the spiral and the journeys of life. So meditating with an ammonite can be a really great way of accessing either ancestral memories or past lives or just the life of the planet. You know, just the life of the planet. Nothing much really. So feathers, things that connect you with the land, basically whatever feels deep and grounded and ancient can be on your ancestral altar. But you may not want that. You may want a very bling ancestral altar. You may want a very themed ancestral altar. Like do your family, do what feels right for you on your altar. But yeah, I kind of have a mixture of animal spirit energy, earthy energy, and you know, that kind of ancient ancestral vibe, as well as more modern pictures and memorabilia. And so you can light a candle for them. You can maybe have an affirmation or have something that you say when you want to connect with them. And you can leave offerings whenever you feel it is right. But it is traditional over Samhain to cook a plate for your ancestors, to cook a plate of food for them, to leave it for them. Samhain is a great time to connect with them because it is when the veil is thin and we have an easier ability to connect with those on the other side of that veil, whether it be the dead or the fae or the spirits, or you know. And it is a product of our society that we've learned to fear the spirits and learned to fear the dead, when actually our ancestors would have had a much more healthy and normal connection with them. And we all know that doesn't make everything fluffy. You know, I've read a lot, you know, there's some in the Icelandic sagas where when people died and they died in the wrong way, they had to go through all of this to make sure their spirit, their ghost didn't come and haunt them. Like people knew that if things weren't quite right, or that person was angry, or if they died in a certain way, then that their ghost could stay and cause havoc, you know. So sort of saying it's a reasonable way of seeing the dead doesn't mean it's always a very fluffy way of seeing the dead, but it's something that's more manageable, more real, that you have helpful spirits and you have ones that you probably don't want to deal with as well. So yes, one of my favourite parts of this work is creating an ancestral altar, and like I said, we'll go through mine a bit later in the week, but also you can make this as simple and just personal or deeply epic as you want to make it. And the most important thing is any altar is that it works for you and that you do connect with it and you get the time and the space to feel that vibe, to feel that bond. So I think I've done 3. I go on quite a bit. I forget how many I did. I think I've done 3. Number 4. You can do this by looking through Totem Animals and maybe find if there's an ancestor that you know that loved a certain animal or that had a connection with a certain animal. You can do this by actually, the connection will come through seeing the animal in nature, or when you know, if that is something like a lynx or something like an elephant, and you live in a place where there's definitely none of them going to be walking past your house. It could be like on the side of a van. It could be something you see as a documentary on TV. You could have a certain association of an animal that goes alongside a certain ancestor. Like, for me, it'll be cats, certain cats, leopards maybe. And for you, you know, whatever animal that you are working with. But maybe you had an uncle that was a horse fanatic and he rode horses. That when you see the horse in something, in a field or in a meditation, or when you're walking out in the fields, you know that's a connection with that ancestor. And you can work with that by having maybe on your altar or something around you that, you know, like a little key ring, maybe even something with that animal on. So that can be a really sweet way of connecting with the ancestors, by knowing a little bit about them, or just meditating if you don't know about them and seeing what animals, or trees or plants. It doesn't have to be animals. It's just I love animals, so I'll go there first. But it could be, you know, what herbs, what trees, what plants they would have associated themselves with, or they felt connected to. Or, you know, it could be dragons, or it could be unicorns, whatever it was that they feel drawn to. If you don't know and you can't ask those questions, you can tune in through meditations and see which animals or which objects, animals, I hate using the word objects and animals, but you know what I mean, what connections or energies that your ancestors loved. And so you can actively work with that by having a depiction of that on your altar, a statue of an animal, a key ring on your in your wallet, a photo of them, and when you see that animal, you know that it's a message that ancestor is connecting with you in some way. So that can be a really nice way. And again, that could be a family thing. It doesn't have to be just one ancestor. Maybe there's a totem pole. You know, there could be specific animals that represent your family, your tribe. You know, and they could be represented on your altar as well. And so last but not least for today, again, it's just the beginning foundations of connecting with your ancestors. And I want it to be as open as possible so you can all explore it in the ways that work for you. This is the hardest one, number 5. Don't know how we're going to get it. Number 5 is through breath. I don't know about you guys, but being where we are, well, where I am in the world, I necessarily don't have the direct link to how my ancestors would have enjoyed life, would have worshipped, would have honoured their gods. Of course, there's a direct ancestor, which you know, but that might not work to you. You met a few hundred years ago, a few thousand years ago, the ancestors that you want to maybe connect with. We don't, or when we go to a stone circle or a burial mound, we don't maybe know exactly how they would have venerated, how they'd have honoured, how they would have celebrated. We can just guess. And maybe you feel like when we say ancestor connection, your brain goes and feels like I've got to Google it. Oh, I don't know. Like, I've got to read a book. I'm not quite sure. We go into that logical part, the I'm not good enough. I don't have the right. I don't belong. And then we try and overcompensate by maybe looking into things without feeling. So number 5 is through breath. It's through being present with who we are now. And actually, being present with who we are now, being kind to who we are now. Because who we are now is the result of lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of ancestors. So being present, being kind, looking at ourselves in the mirror, doing the mirror work, doing, not, again, being really honest with who we are and what we have to work through, but with compassion, and to be good with ourselves, to take some deep breaths and really honour the path that has brought us here to this moment and honour the thread that will lead us on. So my 5th tip is through being present, through breath and through self-love. And that, I think, is the most beautiful way to connect with the ancestors. So let's do it all together for a second. Let's do it together. I want you to, if you can do something in front of a mirror, that would be super awesome. But I know that mirrors can be triggering. Or just be in front of your altar and just put one hand on your, I know you can't see, but on your tum-tum, on your, just above, it's above your base chakra, just below your tummy. One on your heart. Just allow the breath to flow through you. Become really aware of your breath. And if you're standing in front of the mirror, maybe have your eyes half open. Just look at yourself. Look at you being the result of countless loves. And really honour that you're here, and honour that you are doing this work, and honour that you care and that you want to make these connections. I'm going to take some deep breaths. On this first breath, I'm going to honour every ancestor, every thread that has led us here to being alive today. And on this breath, the same breath that they would have experienced, we have that direct connection back to all of our ancestors. On this next breath, you need to be proud of who you are now, and to know that in this present moment you have access to the wisdom and the honour of all the ancestors, right here and right now. And on the next breath, know that you living this life and following your path is an inspiration and a joy and a light to those that you will be the ancestor to. And that, my loves, is the nicest maybe way of quickly, strongly, and beautifully connecting in with your ancestors. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed these 5 tips of starting to connect with your ancestral guides. If there's things that you do, if there's stories that you have, or different ways that you like to connect with your ancestors, please share. And be kind, be good, and share with each other the stories. I don't think there's right or wrong as long as it is honouring and positive and in alignment with who you are and not hurting anyone. So I look forward to more videos. I hope you guys do too. I look forward to creating more videos for you guys over Samhain, and just wishing you all the best. Take care of yourselves. Really be present. Honour yourselves. Respect yourselves. And respect your ancestors. Take care, everybody. Have a fabulous day. Lots of love. Bye.